Ethan Riggs stood on the edge of what used to be Lake Jasper. The shoreline, once teeming with life, now resembled the surface of the moon, cracked, barren, and lifeless. A monstrous alien mining rig sat in the lakebed, its towering arms siphoning the last drops of water into gleaming containment tanks. Around it, dozens of drones flitted back and forth, their metallic shells glinting in the dull sunlight. He clenched his fists, his jaw tightening as the final remnants of the lake vanished into the alien machinery. This was the third freshwater source drained in as many months. Earth's landscape was becoming a hollowed-out husk, and humanity could do little more than watch. "Another one gone," said Jenna Crow, stepping up beside him. She adjusted the scarf around her neck, her sharp eyes scanning the horizon. "We're running out of places they haven't touched." Ethan nodded grimly. "And we're running out of time." The Trelvin Consortium, one of the galaxy's largest corporate entities, had arrived on Earth a decade ago. Under the guise of a mutual assistance treaty, they had stripped the planet of its most valuable resources, minerals, water, rare Earth elements, leaving little in return. Their justification was simple. Humanity owed them reparations for the damage caused by resisting their initial invasion. Resistance was futile, the Trelvin had declared, and Earth had no choice but to comply. But Ethan Riggs had never been one to comply. As a former mining engineer, Ethan knew the Trelvin's methods inside and out. He had spent years working on the rigs before the exploitation became too much to bear. Now, he led a small underground resistance dedicated to sabotaging the alien operations. "This isn't just about resources anymore," Ethan said, turning to face Jenna. "They're bleeding us dry. If we don't act, there won't be an Earth left to fight for." Jenna folded her arms, her dark hair whipping in the wind. "So what's the plan? You've got that look again." Ethan hesitated, his mind racing. He had been mulling over an idea for weeks, something drastic, something that would send a message loud enough for the entire galaxy to hear. "We hit them where it hurts," he said finally. "Their supply lines, their greed." As the two spoke, a Trelvin transport ship roared overhead, its massive bulk casting a shadow over the desolate landscape. The ship was a hulking, angular construct, with glowing containment pods strapped to its underside. Inside those pods was Earth's stolen water, destined for alien markets light years away. Ethan watched it disappear into the clouds, his anger simmering. "That's the last straw." He turned to Jenna. "We're going to rig their next shipment." She raised an eyebrow. "Rig it? With what?" "Explosives," Ethan said simply. "Enough to send a message." Jenna let out a low whistle. "You're not playing around, are you?" "Not anymore," Ethan said, his voice hard. "If they want to treat Earth like their personal quarry, it's time we remind them what happens when you push us too far." Back at their hidden base, a makeshift bunker deep in the Appalachian Mountains, Ethan assembled his team. The room was filled with a mix of old mining equipment, stolen alien tech, and a holographic map of Earth's remaining resources. Maria Delgado, their explosives expert, was already at work, tinkering with a set of improvised charges. Her sharp features and no-nonsense demeanor made her the go-to for anything that needed to go boom. Ravi Patel, the group's tech wizard, sat at a console surrounded by blinking monitors. His fingers flew over the keyboard as he hacked into the Trelvin's transport schedules. "You're insane," Maria said, as Ethan explained his plan. "But I like it." "It's risky," Ravi added, glancing up from his screen. "If they catch on, they'll retaliate. Hard." "They're going to retaliate no matter what," Ethan said. "This is our chance to show them we're not just going to roll over and let them strip our planet bare." Jenna leaned against the wall, her arms crossed. "Well, count me in. Someone's got to fly us out when this all goes sideways." Ethan smiled grimly. "Good. Let's get to work." As the team worked late into the night, the plan began to take shape. Ravi uncovered the transport schedule for the next major shipment, a massive haul of water, rare minerals, and precious metals bound for the Trelvin mothership in orbit. Maria prepared the explosives, carefully disguising them within crates of stolen resources. The charges were designed to detonate once the shipment reached its destination, ensuring maximum damage. Ethan monitored every detail, knowing that one mistake could doom not just their mission, but humanity's last chance at resistance. "We're not just sending a message," he said to the team. "We're drawing a line. No more treaties, no more negotiations. Earth isn't open for business anymore." The hidden base buzzed with activity as Ethan's team prepared for their most daring mission yet. Crates of stolen alien tech, explosives, and human ingenuity were scattered across the room, each piece critical to their plan. The holographic map of the Trelvin transport routes flickered on a central display, its glowing lines tracing paths to orbiting alien motherships. Ethan stood at the center of the chaos, reviewing the details for the 100th time. His mind raced with the stakes. They couldn't afford mistakes. Not this time. "All right," he said, addressing the group. "Let's go over this one more time." Ravi Patel tapped on his console, pulling up a detailed schematic of the transport ship scheduled to carry Earth's stolen resources. The vessel was massive, its cargo bay designed to hold entire lakes worth of water and mountains of minerals. "This is the target," Ravi said, zooming in on the cargo bay. "We're lucky it's automated. No crew on board, just automated systems and a security AI. If we can breach the perimeter and load the explosives, they won't notice a thing until it's too late." Maria Delgado leaned over the map, her fingers tracing the transport's loading zone. "The explosives are ready. I've rigged them to look like containment pods. Once they reach the mothership, they'll detonate on a timer, or manually if we need it." "And how do we make sure it gets on board?" Jenna Crow asked, her arms crossed. Ethan pointed to a secondary hologram displaying the alien mining site. "We intercept the shipment here, at the loading bay. Ravi's already planted a virus in their system to scramble their surveillance. Maria and I will load the crates while Jenna keeps the ship prepped for a quick getaway." "What about patrols?" Ravi asked. Ethan's jaw tightened. "We'll have to move fast. The longer we're in there, the more likely they'll catch us." The plan was simple on paper, but execution was anything but. As night fell, the group piled into Jenna's ship, a battered freighter retrofitted with stolen alien tech and human ingenuity. Its stealth systems were crude but effective, perfect for sneaking into the alien-controlled mining site. The ship's cockpit hummed with energy as Jenna powered up the engines. "This thing better hold together," she muttered. "It'll hold," Ethan said, strapping himself into a seat. "And if it doesn't, we'll improvise." Maria snorted. That's his answer to everything. Ravi chimed in from the back, where he was setting up a remote link to the alien systems. "Let's just hope the virus works. If it doesn't, we'll have the entire Trelvin patrol on us before we can blink." The freighter descended toward the alien mining facility, a sprawling complex of glowing structures nestled in what used to be a rich mountain range. Massive machines rumbled as they stripped the earth bare, sending conveyor belts of resources into towering silos. "Dropping into stealth mode," Jenna said, flipping a switch. The hum of the engines quieted, and the ship slipped into the facility's airspace undetected. Ethan and Maria donned their gear, black suits equipped with tech to blend into the shadows. Ravi's voice came through their comms. "Surveillance is down. You're clear for now, but don't take too long. I can only keep them blind for so long." Ethan nodded. "Let's move." The two exited the ship through a side hatch, their boots hitting the cold steel of the loading zone. Ahead of them, a line of massive containment pods sat waiting to be loaded onto the transport. "This way," Ethan whispered, motioning for Maria to follow. They moved quickly, maneuvering the explosive-laden crates into position alongside the real cargo. Each crate was meticulously disguised, indistinguishable from the rest. Maria worked silently, her hands moving with precision as she secured the detonators. "2 more to go," she muttered. Back on the ship, Ravi's voice crackled over the comms. "We've got a problem. Patrol drones just came online. Looks like their system rebooted faster than expected." Jenna cursed. "How many?" "4, and they're heading your way." Ethan's heart raced. "Maria, we need to move. Now." The two hurried to load the final crates, but the whirring sound of drones grew louder. Ethan glanced over his shoulder, catching a glimpse of the metallic orbs scanning the area with glowing blue lights. "Keep working," he said, drawing a makeshift EMP device from his pack. "I'll handle them." Maria nodded, her focus unshaken. Ethan stepped into the shadows, waiting for the drones to draw closer. As the first one hovered into view, he activated the EMP, sending a surge of energy that disabled the drone with a faint pop. The other three immediately shifted focus, their lights zeroing in on him. "Not good," he muttered, ducking as a laser beam scorched the wall behind him.
"Crates are loaded!"
Maria called out, her voice urgent.
"Get back here!"
Ethan sprinted toward the ship as Jenna powered up the engines. The remaining drones followed, firing sporadic shots that ricocheted off the metal walls. The freighter's hatch opened just in time. Maria pulled Ethan inside as the ship lifted off, leaving the drones scrambling in its wake. "Everyone okay?" Jenna asked, steering the freighter into the sky. "Define okay," Ethan said, catching his breath. Maria grinned, holding up the detonator. "Shipment's on its way. Let's hope their greed blinds them long enough to let it through." As the freighter ascended into orbit, Ethan watched the holographic display tracking the transport ship. The stolen shipment, now loaded with explosives, was on its way to the Trelvin mothership. Ravi patched into the freighter's comms. "I've got eyes on the cargo. Everything's moving according to plan." Ethan exhaled, tension still gripping his chest. "Then we wait." Jenna glanced over at him, her expression unreadable. "You think this is gonna work?" "It has to," Ethan said, his voice firm, "because if it doesn't, we're out of moves." The display showed the transport disappearing into the void, bound for its final destination. The fate of Earth and the Trelvin rested on the explosive message it carried. The silence in the cockpit was broken only by the hum of the engines as Jenna piloted the freighter toward the dark expanse of space. The Trelvin transport, now carrying their rigged cargo, was well on its way to the mothership. Ethan and Maria sat tensely in the back, watching the status updates on the ship's holographic display. "Everything's clear," Ravi's voice came through the comms. "The transport is right on schedule. They don't suspect a thing." Ethan barely heard him. His mind was elsewhere, focused on the explosive payload they had just sent into the heart of the Trelvin fleet. One mistake, and the entire mission would unravel. "They're going to open the shipment," Maria muttered from the corner, "and we won't be able to do anything when they do." "By then," Ethan said, his voice steady, "it'll be too late." As the freighter floated silently behind the Trelvin transport ship, Ethan couldn't help but feel the weight of the moment. They were about to send a message, not just to the Trelvin, but to every species in the galaxy that thought Earth was nothing more than a resource to be plundered. "Maria, how's the detonator holding?" he asked. "It's good," she replied, her fingers moving over the device. "We've got the timer set. It'll go off the moment they open the cargo bay. No way they'll see it coming." Ethan nodded but didn't speak. His eyes were fixed on the transport ahead. He had no plan for what came after, no backup if things went wrong. All he knew was that Earth had no more resources to give. If this worked, the Trelvin would never come back. If it didn't, they would be taking on an empire that would wipe them out in an instant. Suddenly, the Trelvin mothership loomed into view, a colossal craft floating in the darkness of space, its angular shape casting an ominous shadow. The transport ship, carrying its precious cargo, was nearing the mothership's docking bay. Ravi's voice crackled through the comms again. "You're almost there. I'm locking in the coordinates for the detonation. It's all in your hands now." Maria gave him a thumbs up, her face calm but tense. Jenna's voice was tight as she maneuvered the freighter. "If they catch us, we're done. They'll blow us out of the sky before we can even reach the atmosphere." Ethan didn't answer. He was focused on the transport ship. His grip on the armrest tightened. "Jenna, when we move fast. We don't get caught, not this time." She nodded sharply. "Got it." The transport ship docked smoothly with the mothership, its metallic clang echoing through the silent expanse. From the freighter, Ethan and the team watched as the Trelvin cargo bay doors slowly opened, revealing the precious crates they had so carefully prepared. The countdown clock on Ethan's screen began to tick down, the seconds slipping by, one after the other. "Ready?" Maria asked, her finger hovering over the detonator. Ethan's eyes flickered to the countdown timer, then back to the screen showing the opening cargo doors. "Ready." A sharp, mechanical whirring filled the comms, and the first of the crates, one that had been hastily transferred from Earth's surface, moved toward the mothership's hold. The Trelvin workers, oblivious to the ticking bomb inside, began their routine inspection. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest as he watched the screen, waiting for the moment. The Trelvin workers were finishing their inspection. They pulled open the crate's sealing mechanism, revealing the cargo inside, a load of Earth-stolen water. The clock ticked down. 3 seconds, 2, 1. Boom! The shockwave ripped through space, an eruption of fire and debris that seemed to shake the very fabric of the universe. The mothership's hull cracked under the force, huge chunks of its sides splitting apart as the detonation sent shockwaves rippling through the structure. Trelvin ships nearby were thrown into disarray, their shields flaring as they tried to redirect their course. The once imposing mothership, now a burning wreck, began to drift slowly into the void. Jenna's fingers danced across the console as she steered their freighter away from the chaos. Time to go. Ethan didn't need to be told twice. He grabbed Maria's arm, and the two rushed back to the cockpit, where Ravi's voice was already crackling through the comms. "You did it. The Trelvin fleet is scattering. They're panicked. The message is clear." Maria exhaled, a look of grim satisfaction on her face. "It's done. We've sent it." As their freighter moved away from the wreckage, a broadcast from Earth, Ethan's voice, cut through the galaxy, loud and clear. "This is Earth. We are no longer open for business. Consider this a warning to anyone who thinks they can exploit us. The resources of this planet are not for you to take. If you come for us again, we will not hesitate." The words echoed across space, reaching every corner of the galaxy where Trelvin ears could hear. The galaxy was watching. The destruction of the Trelvin mothership would undoubtedly send shockwaves through their empire. And yet, as Ethan watched the mothership drift further into space, his thoughts were already on the future. They had made their message clear, but it wouldn't come without consequences. The Trelvin wouldn't forget. Retaliation was certain, but that was a problem for another day. For now, they had sent their message loud and clear. Earth would not be a resource to be siphoned. The planet had made its stand. The freighter's engines hummed steadily as Jenna guided it toward the safety of Earth's orbit. The crew sat in tense silence, each of them processing the enormity of what they had just done. Behind them, the Trelvin mothership was now a smoldering wreck drifting in the void, its once imposing presence reduced to shattered fragments of steel and flame. Ravi broke the silence first. "It's all over the network," he said, glancing at the holographic feeds flickering across his console. "The Trelvin are in full retreat. Their ships are pulling out of every major mining site on Earth." Maria let out a low whistle. "Didn't think it'd be this effective. Looks like we hit them where it hurts." Ethan stood by the viewport, watching as Earth came back into view, a battered but beautiful blue orb. "They'll think twice before they come back," he said quietly. But even as he spoke, a part of him knew this was far from over. The broadcast had done its job. Across the globe, humans huddled around radios, holographic projectors, and screens, listening to Ethan's defiant words echo across the galaxy. The people of Earth, once fractured and resigned to exploitation, now felt a spark of hope reigniting in their hearts. In a crowded refugee camp in what was once South America, a young boy stared at the sky with wide eyes. "We fought back," he whispered. "We really fought back." Ethan's words were scrawled across walls and banners in hastily painted letters. "Earth is no longer open for business." Far from Earth, the destruction of the mothership sent shockwaves through the Trelvin consortium. On the Trelvin homeworld, towering spires of glowing steel and glass reflected the chaos of the council chambers. "We underestimated them," barked a Trelvin official, his mandibles clicking in frustration. "These humans have proven themselves more dangerous than we thought." "They're an anomaly," another official replied, waving a claw dismissively. "A minor annoyance. We will regroup, and this time we'll crush them. But not all agreed. Some Trelvin leaders began to see the humans in a new light, not as helpless creatures, but as a species capable of great ingenuity and ferocity. Their fear grew. Back on the freighter, Maria cracked open a small bottle of contraband whiskey. "Here's to us," she said, pouring shots into mismatched mugs. "And to Earth. May we scare the hell out of anyone who tries this again." Jenna raised her mug. "And to you, Ethan. That broadcast? Pretty badass." Ethan took a sip, his face unreadable. It wasn't just for them. It was for us, for everyone who needed to hear it. Maria leaned back in her seat. "So what now?" "The Trelvin will regroup eventually. We all know that." Ethan's eyes flicked to the holographic display of the asteroid belt. "Then we prepare. If they come back, we'll be ready. They might have the numbers, but we've got the brains." As the Trelvin pulled their operations from Earth, other species across the galaxy took notice. In a distant star system, an aquatic diplomat with shimmering, translucent skin watched the human broadcast with interest. "These humans," they murmured, "might be more than they appear." Rumors spread quickly. Some praised humanity's defiance, while others whispered of Earth as a dangerous upstart. Among the galactic elite, one thing was certain: Earth was no longer an easy target. Ethan stood alone in the freighter's observation deck, staring out at the stars. The weight of their actions pressed heavily on his shoulders. The explosion had been necessary, but it wasn't without cost. Lives were lost, both human and alien, and retaliation was almost inevitable. But as he gazed at the vastness of space, he felt a spark of determination. Humanity had drawn its line in the sand. They had shown the galaxy that they were not to be trifled with. "We're not done yet," he whispered to himself. "This is just the beginning." Ethan Riggs stood at the edge of the freighter's observation deck, watching the Earth spin quietly below. Its blue and green hues were a stark contrast to the fiery destruction they'd left behind in space. The message had been sent, loudly, clearly. The Trelvin's once dominant fleet was in disarray, and for the first time in decades, Earth felt a glimmer of freedom. But victory came with its own weight. Ethan felt it in his chest, a heavy mix of relief, guilt, and resolve. "We bought ourselves time," he muttered. "Now we figure out how to keep it." Across the globe, humanity began to stir. The Trelvin's retreat had left mining operations abandoned, with their towering rigs and machinery scattered across desolate landscapes. Communities rallied to dismantle these symbols of exploitation, repurposing the alien tech for Earth's recovery. In the heart of what had once been a thriving city, a group of engineers worked to restore power using modified alien systems. Solar panels, scavenged from Trelvin facilities, now lit up homes for the first time in years. On the shores of drained lakes, volunteers began the painstaking process of refilling basins, redirecting rivers and aquifers to restore the natural balance. For every broken piece of Earth, there was a human hand ready to rebuild it. Far across the galaxy, the fallout from the Trelvin mothership's destruction rippled through the corridors of power. On a council station orbiting a distant star, representatives from dozens of species convened in a cavernous chamber of crystalline walls and floating platforms. A shimmering hologram of Earth's solar system hovered in the center of the room, displaying the asteroid belt, now fortified with makeshift human defenses. "This is troubling," an amphibious delegate croaked, their luminescent eyes narrowing. "If the humans have the capacity for such destruction, what else might they be capable of?" "They are a minor species," a reptilian counselor sneered. "This outburst was an act of desperation, not strength." "But it worked," an avian delegate countered, their wings fluttering nervously. "And if they can do it once, they can do it again." The chamber buzzed with debate, but one conclusion was clear. Humanity was no longer an afterthought. Earth's defiance had captured the galaxy's attention. Ethan sat in the freighter's command room, a steaming cup of coffee in his hands, as Ravi patched into a secure channel. On the screen, a representative from a lesser-known alien species appeared, their insectoid features softened by an air of cautious friendliness. "We've been watching your efforts," the alien said. "The Trelvin have exploited our world as well. We would like to collaborate." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Collaborate how?" "We have information, resources. Perhaps together we can ensure the Trelvin never recover their grip on this region of space." Ethan exchanged a glance with Ravi, who gave a slight nod. It wasn't a guarantee, but it was a start. "All right," Ethan said. "Let's talk." The asteroid belt became Earth's first line of defense. Massive chunks of rock were retrofitted with propulsion systems and railguns, turning them into stationary platforms of destruction. Alien tech was integrated into human systems, creating a patchwork of functionality that worked better than anyone expected. Maria oversaw the installation of explosives on key asteroids, her expertise now critical to Earth's survival. Jenna trained a new generation of pilots, preparing them for the battles that would inevitably come. Ravi coordinated efforts to hack into alien networks, gathering intelligence on potential threats. And Ethan? He became the face of the resistance, the man who had sent the galaxy's most powerful corporation fleeing with their tails between their legs. In a broadcast sent across galactic channels, Ethan addressed the galaxy once more. His face was calm, his voice steady, but the message was anything but subtle. "To those who would exploit Earth, hear this. We will not be your quarry. We will not be your resource. Come for us again, and you'll face the same fate as the Trelvin. Earth stands united. We're not just surviving, we're fighting back." The message reverberated across the galaxy. Some species viewed it as a declaration of war. Others saw it as a beacon of hope. On the freighter's observation deck, Ethan stood alone, gazing at the stars. He thought of the lives lost, the destruction caused, and the battles still to come. Victory was bittersweet, but it was a start. Jenna joined him, leaning against the rail. "You think they'll come back?" "Maybe," Ethan said, "but they won't find the same Earth they left behind." Jenna smirked. "Good. I was getting tired of being underestimated." Ethan's gaze hardened as he looked out at the vast expanse of space. "Let them try," he said. "We'll be ready." The camera pans out, revealing the fortified asteroid belt surrounding Earth, a testament to human resilience and ingenuity. Against all odds, humanity had carved out its place in the galaxy, and it was just the beginning.